Okay, so we started the Bush store at the end of December 2017. It was a concept that I came up with, and I asked my two sisters to join in with me, who are fellow Bush women. So at first we started off as being the three Bush sisters. And so one of my sisters, Bridget, is very good at art, and so she does a lot of the artwork for the t-shirts, etc., that we sell. And so we ran with that for a while because I have a page on Facebook called Bush Kids Australia, and the Bush Kids page on Facebook has over 47,000, I think it is, following that. So I thought, well, why don't we use that concept, call it the Bush store, but utilise the Bush Kids whole logo and start to sell some merchandise, etc. So we started off doing that in a very small way. Fell from the streets of Charleville one December at a market day. It was boiling hot. My sisters have eventually opted out because they couldn't help me as much as they thought they'd like to be able to. It's just a distance thing. And so my sister Bridget still does design for us. And so my two daughters, who have been helping me right from the start, because you've always got to rope some people in, some helpers in. So two of my daughters, they were then drafted into the whole Bush store. So we are 11 hours directly west of Brisbane as the crow flies. So if you go, and actually we're in a straight line from Brisbane, you could just about intersect us. So if you go to Cairns, draw a line down, Brisbane out, you'll intersect Wyandra. Okay. So it's a little tiny town of 45, 50 people at the most. It's so it's a one-horse town, one pub town, part-time post office. It has a really good little school. My girls all went there for all their primary school. So I transported them in and out of school every day. It was 26 kilometres one way. So I did that for 13 years. So it was a great little school, one teacher school. So they did that for 13 years. And we live west of that. So 26 kilometres west of that, you'll bring you to our house. So our property is 89,000 acres. It's a sheep and wool and cattle producing place. And we've been here approximately 20 years. Well, we started the business because I love a message. You know, I'm a messenger. I always want to help inform people, and that's why I started Bush Kids Facebook page. So it's all about messaging for me. So I'm always wanting to connect back the linkages between city and country because they've been very broken. 35 years ago, we had 340,000 registered primary producers, and today we have fewer than 87,000. You know, so that's a huge drop in 35 years. And as a sixth generation primary producer, you know, our future is only as bright as as the linkages that we have with our customers. And unfortunately, our customer base and the primary production area have just parted company, really, because we no longer have city cousins, country cousins. All that linkages was really strong and vibrant and viable once upon a time. And every Christmas holidays, most kids from the city would have someone they could go and visit in the bush, and now they don't. And so we've got a bunch of people who really have no concept of how important it is that A, we trust our primary producers, and B, we support them, and C, that we don't vote in governments that are anti-agriculture. And so anyway, long story short, I just thought, well, let's try and do something with messages. Let's try and give us something else to do as well from the bush, so we could actually have perhaps another income stream. Well, you could try, but I mean, it's really, in the scheme of agriculture versus a business like the one I've got and my daughters have, it's really, you know, you're not making great strokes. I mean, our farming business, grazing business, you know, the bills that we rack up there, you don't sell enough in a store to do anything about any of them. So it's probably more, I actually enjoy being a retailer. I was a retailer when I was 18. So I started a shop in Charleville when I was 18 years old, turning 19. So I'm probably a retailer at heart. So with that, you know, I did that for about 3.5, 4 years, and I went through the 1990 flood, so I had water in the shop about up to your chest height. Then we had the wool crash. They took out the floor price of the wool. That was after 1990 flood. And so we went from having a very vibrant agriculture to an agriculture that was in free fall. And so suddenly the sheep went out and wool went out of most of these bush towns. And so now we've got towns that are just closed up, shops everywhere. Yeah, primary production is what we're about. This is just, the bush store is a little sideline. It's we do enjoy doing. And it gives me an ability to go to, and the girls to go to shows and fairs and that sort of, when we can fit it in with the schedule on the place. And I talk this sort of stuff all the time. Okay, so my two of my daughters have been very instrumental. Zara, who's 21, and Sky, who is 18. So they have both gone now off doing other things. Zara's gone to work on a big cattle place for NAPCO outside of Cloncurry. So she's just gone there. She just started the season up there now. And Sky has actually gone to Wyoming in the US. So yeah, so they've scattered, and I've got my oldest daughter's come home, so now she's been roped in to be my assistant. And my husband is long suffering. Every now and again I can con him into doing something for me, like making me a prop or something, and or helping with the horse plate, because we cart our shop around when we do go in the horse plate. And so it's a whole, rigmarole, because you've got to take a big tent and all the stuff that go with it, and the tables and the props. And so it's a big deal trying to set up somewhere, but it's fun. Okay, so we use Australia Post. I have the mailman comes twice a week here. So I have big canvas bags, the old canvas bags you would have seen. So we do our mail up and we put it in the canvas bag, and he'll take it back to Charleville, which is 126 kilometres away, and take it to the post office there. So they'll put it through, and so that's basically how we're doing it. It's Australia Post. And yeah, sometimes I can have 2 of those great big parcels ready to go a couple of times a week. If someone's really desperate, I'll have to run into Wyandra to post it, and then it still has to go to the courier to Charleville. So yeah, I could run in there to Wyandra 52 kilometres just to post someone's parcel if they're really desperate for it. Of late, we've had the rivers running. Yay! We haven't had rivers running for that many years, so we've been cut off. So I was just in the process of doing up these parcels, and I've got quite a few orders. And some of these people have ordered like on the 4th of March, and they still haven't even received their parcel, because we've been cut off for like 7 days at a time. 1 7-day period, then there was about a 5-day break, and we had to rush off to Brisbane to take our daughter to the plane to go to Wyoming. We just got back, and we were flooded in again on the Monday. So we've only just gotten out of that. So no, we don't have the NBN. Thank God for that. Okay, the NBN out here has not got a good reputation. It's for some people who've been on satellite and been on very, very limited service, it is an upgrade. But for someone like me, who is just on the edge of the mobile service, the mobile footprint, with a high gain antenna, we can actually get reasonable coverage, pretty good coverage really. So the NBN would only set us back. So sometimes we can have problems if you get too many people going to the free camp in Wyandra, and they put up those boosters, then they can, restrict all the coverage for everybody else in the district. So that's usually a winter problem. Well, I use all of those except for Twitter. I don't do that. So I have a Facebook page for the business called The Bush Store, naturally. I have an Instagram page, have one for Bush Kids, which has got the big following of over 47,000, and an Instagram page for them as well. I do that buy from a bush business, which is a Facebook initiative. Started off on Instagram, buy from the bush, and the one I find is more effective, far more effective for us as a business, is buy from a bush business on Facebook. So we do that, and I do paid advertising through Facebook at times, yes. Sometimes I'll run something through Instagram. So just trying to keep those, keep all of those things rolling. It takes a bit of time and effort. And I think because I'm so schooled up on having done Bush Kids Facebook page for the past 5+ years, or 6 years, I can't even remember now, but then to sell items. So I generally utilise stories. So like last night, I put a story up about, at the moment we've got a problem called 3-day sickness, which is we've had some beautiful rains and it's brought out all the nasty biting things. And we've got our cattle are in very lovely order at the moment, and so they're quite susceptible to this 3-day sickness, it's called. So it's a virus. Anyway, so I did a post up last night just based on that. And so with that, and I did a promotion for our Farmer's Friend shopping bags, because we have a shopping bag called Farmer's Friend, which I brought one in to show you. And anyway, so I just did a bit of a story, because I'm a storyteller, so I'm always telling stories, and just to try and help people understand what's going on. And I think there's over 1,000 likes on that. I think it's been shared in excess of 360 times. That's only from last night. So, so based on that, I've had some sales off the back of that. But people, to me, it's about the messaging. I'm message. I'm just trying to help people understand what's going on and trying to, give them a platform where they can then, have conversations themselves and amongst themselves, and also giving them a tool to promote agriculture within their own communities via our Farmer's Friend shopping bags, etc. The thing I found the most difficult was the website. So I struggled I had the lady who put our website together, but then I didn't have any training about how to add content to that myself. And I found that the most frustrating part of the whole thing, because without that training, anytime I asked her to do something, it obviously was a cost involved, and I couldn't afford to keep paying her. So it was a two-edged sword, really, to keep putting this content up for me. And so, because we weren't having many sales, etc., on the back of that, it was more us going out to events that we were selling from. So it wasn't until the whole advent of Buy from the Bush that really even the online has taken off for us. If I don't have a website, well, I'm not selling online. So you know how it all rolls. And so especially at times like this, where all the things we were going to go to are suddenly cancelled.
Okay.
So on the back of the epidemic, pandemic, whatever they want to call it. We've sold through every state of Australia, absolutely. At our biggest seller through the November, December, January period, especially November, December, was our Farmer's Friend shopping bags. People were buying them in 10 and 15 at a time. They were using them as a Christmas gift bag. So rather than buying paper, they were buying a shopping bag, and with the artwork on it that said Farmer's Friend. So that was our major seller for over that Christmas time. We then launched into these beautiful handbags that are actually made in Sydney. So our handbags come from a company called the Australian Bush Collection. They've been there for 35 years, and they do the most top-notch, beautiful quality work. And so I'm so pleased to have found Ray from the Australian Bush Collection, and he's a real character too, I might add. And so he sells mostly into the tourism market, into the airports. That's very high-end type products. But to accommodate me, he has these special things that he does for me. And so, I'm getting beautiful quality handbags now for a lot less than they generally would sell into your tourism places, just because of this collaboration that I have with Ray. So I sell a lot of handbags now. I'm turning into a handbag seller, which I'm very happy about. Who doesn't love a handbag? But yeah, still the main focus is the messaging. So we're still doing that. We do a range of T-shirts, and the T-shirts are all our own designs. So it's either my photography turned into a T-shirt with a design that says Country Girl, or my sister will do beautiful little designs with sheep, or cute little cows, and so yeah. So that's what we've basically been doing, along with beautiful accessories and So it's really to take a product to the bush marketplace, and give these women and these men who, you know, if they're looking for something for their wives, we'll give them something really lovely and quality that they can take home, and also sell the message. Yes, it absolutely does. And that's what's driven me to even start in the first place. The reason I even started the Bush Kids Facebook page, which is about, what was it, the January of 2013. I always get the years a bit confused. And with that, we were just started into drought then, and we, oh gosh, it was horrendous. And I was sending my little girl off to boarding school, my last girl. And so I was sitting at the kitchen table here thinking, sewing on name tags, having a bit of a tear moment, thinking, how am I going to go without this precious little girl who helps us so much? She was only 12, and we would come home, she would come home from school, I'd go and get her from school, and we had all these potties to feed, you know, like, say it was about 12 or 13 potty lambs on the bottle, and plus all these others that weren't, but they were all out there. Then we had about all these calves that we were hand feeding as well, plus horses, plus there was all these cattle and everything milling around all the time. We'd have to load up the ute, and my husband and I would go and feed out hay and corn that we'd mixed together with, it was just laborious, with ag lime every afternoon to these ewes and lambs along a board drain. And so we'd go and do that, he and I, and leave her here to manage all these animals. And every day for months on end, she would have to manage all these animals all by herself. And I'd call her up, and I'd be out in a paddock and coming along, and it'd probably be about after 7 or something. And I'd say, Skyzy, how are you going? Did you feed all the animals? Yes, Mum. She'd come back on the two-way. She had to struggle through that many animals. And if you've never had potties that you're feeding, I mean, you would have, Penny, because you were reared in the bush, and you know what it's like. But if you haven't, you have no concept of how crowding they are, how pushing they are, how they trample your feet. They just want what you've got. They'll run you down. She's having to manage all these animals by herself. We weren't even here at the homestead with her, by herself every afternoon for months. And so I was sitting there at the table sewing on these name tags, and I was thinking to myself, you know, these bush kids, how the bush has really been built on the back of the labour of bush kids for generations. And so I was sitting there thinking, you know, I should start a page about that. It wasn't about her, it was about bush kids for generations. And so we've got this page that's, you know, over 47,000 people on it. And so that is a way that not only me gets a voice, but other people get a voice. So they can show their families, their kids in their environments. They can write a little story if they want to. They can share what they like. And it helps to keep connections going. And you get a lot of people on there who are older who just, it helps them to relive their bush childhoods. And they love it. And we've got really, really loyal followers on that page, and have done for years and years. And so it just grows, you know, and so it just is easy for me to manage now. Every now and again we'll run a competition, you know, profile picture competition. I used to do a lot of actual photographic competitions. I probably should do a few more of those. But the other thing that we also do is raise money for the Royal Flying Doctor. So we do that via a calendar. So we've done the calendar. It's Australia-wide competition that we run. It's real, and then we go through a series of judging, and you know, people get to vote for the ones they like, and that, you know, it goes down until finally we've got the finished product. So we have people that sponsor it. So this year, for the 2020 calendar, we have raised, what did we raise? We raised $12,000 for the New South Wales RFDS. And in 2018, we raised $13,000 for the Western Australian, 13. And then previous to that, we'd raised $6,500 for the Northern Territory, South Australia, and $6,000 for Queensland. They've always been a great help to me. I really am blessed, because they were, you know, able to say, yeah, Mum, we'll help you, you know, and I couldn't have done it without them. You know, they're not paid, you know, no one's paid at this point. Yes, it would be. A workshop would be fabulous, and I'd love to go to one. You know, you've just got to do the best with what's going on around you, and you've got to get the information yourself. You just can't rely on someone to go and land it in your lap. So it's a matter of, yes, you know, if there's a will, there's a way. You just got to keep searching these things out. And, you know, the bush being a place that it is, that calls for a lot of resilience, a lot of resourcefulness. So that you've got to be that, you know, in all aspects of your life. You've got to be resilient, you've got to be resourceful. Yeah, be resilient, be resourceful. That's the big one. And be very consistent with how you speak with people over Messenger, but you be extremely polite to every single person. Doesn't matter what they ask you, and you might get asked the same question, and that happens to me a lot. You know, it could be 20, 50, 100 times. Just keep going, keep smiling, send them back very, very, very courteous little messages. The other thing I do when we're wrapping up parcels, I always wrap them as, you know, make them a little special parcel with ribbon, etc. And also handwrite them a note. So every parcel that goes out from here has a handwritten note on it from me. The whole initiative of Buy from the Bush was a brainchild, really, that has sparked an incredible movement that has really helped reconnect the city and the country in a very special way. And people have gone out of their way to shop from bush businesses. You know, it doesn't have to be a pop-up come online store like my daughters and I have. It's even the bricks and mortar ones in the towns. And that is such an important initiative. And I just hope that the local businesses can jump with that as well, because I go into town and I say to them, you know, we need some signage in this town that says buy from the bush, and get the locals to buy from the bush as well. So it's that try and stay connected through stories. I think a few little stories really helps to people to sort of engage them a bit more, and they go, oh, I had no idea it was like that. I mean, most kids in the bush, they spend more time around adults than they do around kids. The conversations that they hold are mostly, a lot of the times, adult themes. So they were mostly, kids from the bush are very interested in politics, they're interested in the state of the nation, what's going on globally. They can tell you about the cattle market, you know, like that generally, or the sheep wool prices, those sorts of things. You know, they can tell you, oh yeah, it's gone up, or no, it's down, it's terrible at the moment, or whatever. If you're 5 years old and you can sit on the back of a horse all day, well, you're part of the mustering team. You know, and you 4 years old and you can ride a quick motorbike unassisted, well, you can go and help take cattle away or something. So all of a sudden, you're part of the team, you're part of the workforce. And then if you can touch the pedals, we can learn to drive the vehicle, so then you can come and help me feed out. You know, and you've always got your potties. You've always got potties to feed. There's always some animal that you're responsible for. And that's just how it rolls. And that's what makes the bush kid, you know, quite different type of person to a child that's been reared in a very urban environment, who isn't put in situations very often that are challenging physically, and because, you know, you're driven to school, you're driven back. I mean, a lot of kids in the city do have jobs outside, but even as young kids aren't expected to have jobs. Whereas primary school kids, I mean, goodness me, they can work in the yards, they can ride things, they can drive things, you know, they're useful. And so they become part of your team. And so that's why I think you find that there is such a marked difference between an urban-based child and a country-based child.